Okay, so my first strategy is cognate strategy. And cognate words are words that can be found by English language learners that have the same origin or root word in their first language and in English. So basically, these words just help English language learners discover words and determine its meaning in the English language from their native language. I'm going to give you an example of Spanish and English cognate words, but these are not the only languages that you can use cognate words for. A lot of other languages have similar origins and root words, and so it's not just English and Spanish that have these cognate words. So if you have a student in your class that is not a Spanish speaker, you can also use this with them. Okay, so the first example that I have, excuse my Spanish speaking skills, and I'm sorry it's backwards, but we say family in English, and in Spanish they say la familia. So if you notice that they look similar and they also sound similar. They're not exactly the same because they are in different languages, but a student, an English language learner student, can normally pick out this meaning from this word. Another example that I have is person. In English we say person, and in Spanish they say la persona. So just like our last word, they sound similar and they look similar. Our last example is the word telephone. In English we say telephone, and in Spanish they say teléfono. So as you can see that they sound alike and they also look alike. And so these are really what cognate words are. And it's words that English language learners can pick out because they do sound similar and look similar. So it really helps them whenever they're reading or writing because they can pick out these cognate words. So it really does help them, it really does help them understand more of the English language, and this way they're able to decipher meaning from the cognate words. Okay, so my second strategy is our syntax surgery strategy. And this allows students to really see the relationship of different parts of a sentence in English and how it works in the English language. So this strategy has 3 steps. The first step is to identify a problematic sentence, and I have an example of one right here and I'll show you in a second, and I'm sorry it's backwards. But the second step is to write the sentence on a sentence strip like I have here, and then you perform surgery, which is pretty cool, we'll get to that in a second, and then we'll rearrange the words. Normally you want to do this on like a pocket chart or a whiteboard where you can have magnets, but I don't have any of those materials here, so I'm just going to have to hold it. So you can set this up if you hear a student speaking incorrect grammar or sentence structure, if they write it wrong in one of their papers, or if they just come to you and say they don't understand why the sentence structure is the way it is. So in this sentence, we have, she was running to the castle beautiful. Now we know as English speakers that this doesn't make sense. But to a Spanish speaker, this makes sense to them because this is how they say it in Spanish. So we have identified the problematic sentence because it doesn't make sense. So then what you want to do is write it on a sentence strip. So this is what I've done. And you would do this with a student. And then you get scissors and you perform surgery. And let me make sure. So we have, she was running to the castle beautiful. And we know that right here is where the problem is. So we're going to perform surgery. I think that's so fun. And this is where a pocket chart or magnets would be useful. So you'll set this up in a pocket chart. say she was running to the, and explain to the student why the word comes before another word. So in this case, it's to the beautiful castle, because in English, our descriptive words come before the noun that you're describing. So that's what you would do for an English language learner. And that way they can mess around and rearrange and figure out, kind of like a puzzle. So this is important because it really does help the student understand English language and the structure of English, of sentences and how to word things and where to do it. And this way it'll correct their habits of their first language and ease the transformation of them going from Spanish to English. So yeah.